Great. Okay. Well, my name is Gabby. I'm the community manager at Grapevine. I'm also joined by Kaylee, my colleague. I don't know, Kaylee, if you want to introduce yourself quickly and sort of anything you're kind of working on right now.
Yeah, I focus on operations and partnerships at Grapevine and doing a lot of work right now for how we're supporting nonprofits.
Great. And Danny, anything you want to share about the nonprofit you're a part of, or please do share that in the chat or unmute. We'd love to hear a little bit more as we're going through this. But then Emily, maybe I'll pass it over to you now.
Great. Thanks, Gabby. Hi, Danny. Nice to have you with us here. This is one of the first sessions we're doing for nonprofits on giving circles, and specifically how nonprofits can leverage giving circles to grow their mission and raise more funding. So excited to go through a little bit more background with you. Here's our introductory slides. So you already have this, but I'm the CEO and founder of Grapevine, and we initially started Grapevine to support giving circles broadly, and very excited to see more and more nonprofits getting directly involved. So starting to expand from that.
For anyone else who's just joined, feel free to unmute and share a little bit more about yourself in the chat, or unmute about who you are and your nonprofit as well. I can see we've got a couple more people joining. Hi, Renato.
Hello.
Yeah, feel free to, where are you joining from, and what organization are you a part of?
So thank you. I work at idealist.org, and I'm also linked to some organizations in Brazil. And I've participated in giving circles myself. And we're just thinking, how would it be if we had giving circles to finance small projects from idealist people themselves, So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Great.
That's great, Renato. Yeah, we actually have a collaboration with idealist.org.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. We're just jumping in, Renato. So here are the goals for our session today. We want to talk more about what giving circles are, in case some of us on the call are new to the concept. Also, what does the new landscape research reveal about the giving circle movement that really kind of gets at why this is important for nonprofits to learn more about? And then 3 key ways that you can leverage the collective giving model, and how you can do that as a nonprofit. And then who we are here at Grapevine and how we're helping nonprofits to engage with this movement. So first, just a quick question. We're curious, from those of you on the call, have you received funding from a giving circle before, or had any other connection to a giving circle prior to this? It's like, no. Okay. Well, not to worry. This is why we're doing these. We're going to share more on what they are and how you can potentially get funding from giving circles, as well as maybe even create your own. So giving circles are a simple concept, and it looks like all of these things. These are real giving circles in the world. And the idea here is that it's really about a community, a group of people that come together to connect with each other, pool their donations, and then make a larger collective gift as a group. Right? So giving circles, as you can see, take many different shapes and sizes, many different types of groups of people coming together in many different ways. It also varies in terms of how people make those decisions around where to give and what the process is that they go through. And so many different ways that people do this model, but the most popular model is this one. And in this model, 100 people come together and everyone pitches in $100. So now as a group, we have a $10,000 check to give away. Members who are participating in the Giving Circle who have donated can nominate nonprofits for the Giving Circle to consider. And then ultimately 3 finalists are presented to the group for a vote. Whichever organization gets the most votes is the one that gets that $10,000 check that cycle. And then the group does it all again 3 months later. This is a quarterly Giving Circle. So as you can see, this is a really powerful model where members are giving up roughly 1 lunch a month, but collectively they're actually moving $40,000 per year. This is a model that we see very often within this local giving circle framework here. This is I would say, the most traditional model of giving circle, and really the one that this movement started with in the early 80s. This is still the most popular giving circle model that we see in the movement. However, as the movement has continued to grow and expand and more people are coming into it and adopting this model and adapting it to their community and their causes, we're seeing a broader range of types of giving circles. That includes cause-based giving circles. So we have giving circles focused on healthy oceans and early childhood education, things like that might cut across different geographies. We also have community-based giving circles, or really like membership-based giving circles. So it might not be a group of people that are focused on a particular geography or a particular cause, but it might be a group of architects or real estate agents or Latinas supporting Latinas. These are all ways in which these different communities that have some kind of affinity, some connection to each other, are coming together, and then they work together to decide what to support that's meaningful for them and their community. The third model is this organization-specific giving circle. So this is where nonprofits themselves or even foundations are starting their own giving circles and using that as a way to build a community, to connect and engage a community of recurring donors and really bring people along in that process with them. So this is the main model we'll talk about here in a moment. Before we get to that, though, I just want to give you a little bit more of an update on this broader movement and why it's so exciting. So as of a couple of months ago, in April 2024, a new report on the state of the giving circle field came out, and it showed that giving circles are the fastest growing form of philanthropy right now. So really exciting moment for all of us in the field. And I think just speaks to how important it is that you're here on the call and you're learning more about this movement. Because keep in mind, these incredible trends are happening amidst some pretty troubling metrics in the broader philanthropic ecosystem, right? And as we see here, this movement of everyday people has now moved over $3 billion to nonprofits, and this incredible growth is expected to continue. So it's a great moment to be learning more about it and figuring out how you can start to participate in this model. The other thing that I like to know about this model is just how it's not only unlocking more funds for nonprofits, but it's also really helping to foster this sense of belonging, purpose, and real connection to community. This is something that we see nonprofits really trying to figure out how to do, right? And how to do that better and more effectively so that they can attract new donors. They can bring in a broader diversity of donors to their organizations, and also, importantly, engage and retain those donors. And so with the Giving Circle model, these numbers are based on that latest research, but we see that 82% of members join these giving circles to establish relationships with like-minded people. We see that on average, Giving Circle members join groups and stay in groups for 7.5 years. Talk about a sticky model, right? I don't know what your recurring donor program longevity is, but you know, a lot of donors, they churn after the first year. Right? So this is a really compelling model to learn from. And finally, 77% acknowledge common affiliations or identity among members. So I talked a moment ago about some groups actually coming together around a shared identity. So that's obviously a very strong way to build that commonality, but also just coming together around a shared sense of commitment to a particular cause can really help build that sense of connection to the other members. Okay, so moving on, and we can put a link to this in the chat, but this is a TED Talk that came out about giving circles. And I just like to highlight this because in addition to unlocking those funds and really building that sense of connection and community, what we're seeing is that giving circles really are this powerful force that is diversifying and democratizing philanthropy. It's engaging a much broader diversity of donors in philanthropy. It's expanding the donor base. It's expanding the pie, which is really important for all of us. And it's also engaging everyday donors, right? It's not just the ultra high net worth, although those donors are in this Giving Circle movement as well. That's also important to note. But it's also engaging everyday donors who are giving $100, $1,000, $50 at a time. So we'll share this TED Talk with you, but thought it does a great job talking about this diversifying and democratizing philanthropy aspect. And finally, I also like to note that at this moment, giving circles, even though it might be a newer concept to you, maybe you haven't received funding from one yet or participated in one yet, it is a movement that has now captured awareness and attention from the biggest philanthropic players out there. And these philanthropic players are now funding giving circles. We had a grant from Fidelity Charitable helping to launch and grow giving circles. They're helping to support giving circles with education and awareness and training. And they're showcasing giving circles across their broader donor platforms and networks to help encourage more donors to get involved and join these groups. So when you get involved in this movement, know that there are a lot of these really big, powerful players that are involved in it as well, that are really helping to propel it. Okay. So the last part here is why you should leverage the collective giving model. And then we'll get to the how part in a moment, but we really do believe strongly that this is a model that all nonprofits should be learning about and thinking about right now. And this is one of the reasons here, which is that, as we all know, our sector is struggling right now in terms of attracting new donors, getting new donations from existing donors, and really just engaging and retaining those donors over time. And so this is a difficult moment for the sector, but also an opportunity, right, for us to think more creatively and for us to rethink our existing fundraising practices. I happen to be at a conference today on fundraising, and a lot of the talk here is about community building. It's about engaging with your donors. It's about building more meaningful connections. And so these are all reasons why right now is the right time to be learning about this model and seeing why it's the fastest growing form of philanthropy, why it is that it's attracting all of these donors. So how can we get started as a nonprofit? We have a few ideas for you. So the first one is you can easily find and join a giving circle by going to the Global Giving Circle directory. This is a directory of giving circles that we launched a few years ago now, and it hosts over 4,000 active giving circle groups. We actually need to update that image there. We had an exciting update recently on that. And so this is a place where you can go, you can search for giving circles near you. You can search for giving circles that are supporting the causes that you're working on, and you can access them, learn more about them. What does it take to join one of these groups? What does it take as a nonprofit to apply to be considered for a grant? Or if there's not an application process, what is their process? Maybe it's that members nominate nonprofits, in which case, it's a really great idea for you to share these giving circles that you think are high potential funders of your work with your broader community of donors and volunteers and ambassadors, and ask them to join. Ask them to participate in a community of like-minded people and be an advocate for your organization in that space. So do your research, go to that Global Giving Circle directory, and then share it with the appropriate team members or supporters of your organization so that you can get in front of those groups and hopefully get funding from them as well. Come on. Next slide, please, Gabby. Thank you. So make sure your organization is in key databases. So this is a really important aspect of getting in front of these giving circles as well. We at Grapevine host over 1,000 active giving circles, and we see that our giving circles that we host, as well as those that we don't host, really do rely on these databases of nonprofits to find organizations that fit their criteria and that align with their group's mission. And so as a nonprofit, we always encourage you to make sure that you're visible in all of the key databases that are relevant for you. We've listed a few here, but if you're in these databases and your information is up to date, then these are resources that our giving circles are going to and that we're actively sharing with our giving circle members to identify nonprofits for their group to consider. So that's one other tip for you. Okay, next slide, please. Don't know if I'm frozen or not, but Gabby, if you can hear me, can you go to the next slide, please?
Sorry, I think you're a little bit lagged, Emily.
Okay,
Because the next
sorry
one
about that.
is up. Can you see it?
Okay, yes, now I can.
Okay.
I'm sure that's on my side. Okay, can you still hear me?
We can hear you. Your video is just a tad frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, then I can keep going because I can see the slide. Sorry about that. Okay, so the third one that we want to spend a little bit more time on is how you can think about starting a giving circle for your nonprofit. And for those of you who are in the development space, you might think of this as starting a recurring donor program for your nonprofit, right? Or reinvigorating a recurring donor program that you have through a more community-based engagement model, like a giving circle. And we see this as being a really compelling way for you to build that community of recurring donors because it helps you naturally expand that community by providing this kind of community space that's easier for your members to invite other people in. It really helps you to engage your donors because you have a community space and that kind of sharing and collaborative element to it that enables you to really increase engagement from your donors that we know is really important for the retention of those donors. And so not only is it about engagement, but it's also about setting up a system where those donors are making those recurring donations. And that's the expectation from the start, right? That they're part of a recurring donor community. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So a few thoughts on whether or not this model could be relevant to you. What we have seen with nonprofits is that if you do have a monthly recurring donor program or a quarterly or an annual recurring donor program, this can be a great model for you, like I said, to enhance it, to expand it, to improve it. If you have an underperforming young patrons council, we've also seen nonprofits use this model as a great way to attract young patrons in a more modern way and also attract new ones and engage those existing ones. Similarly, even if you don't have these existing models in place, but you want to launch one of these models, a recurring donor program, a young patrons council, or even some of these other different types of community-based fundraising, whether it's peer-to-peer, donor affinity groups, this could be a really great method for you to do that in a compelling way. If you're interested in expanding your donor base, if you want to launch donor affinity groups, or if you want to engage more women, for example, or more next-gen donors, or just any other type of donor that you feel like you haven't really been able to effectively communicate with and effectively engage. This can be a really, really compelling way to do that because you're building a community of like-minded people where they can have a sense of belonging, right? A sense of connection and community. And finally, if you want to expand your individual donors program, if you have one, of course you want to expand it. We all do. And find more major gift donors. Of course, we all want that as well. I'd just like to note that if those are big goals of yours, this giving circle model is a really powerful top of funnel, right? Initial introduction for these donors to your organization. And when they join these groups, what we see is that there's a lot of sharing and information that happens, information that you're able to gather from your donors that can enable you to identify those potential major gift prospects and start to cultivate those into larger donors. So a really compelling model for that as well, if you're looking to continue to breathe new donors into that pipeline. Okay, so I'll share a few examples and then we'll take a little bit of a break and pass it over to Gabby. But this is a giving circle that was started by Liberated Capital. And this is a really exciting model because this group has raised over $9 million at this point. They've been able to raise this money by building a community of over 600 members. And they are a re-granting organization. So they do actually raise funds and they use some of the funds for their operations, but they also grant funds out to organizations. And now they supported over 200 nonprofits across the country. This model is one where the whole community can participate in whatever way they would like, and they can also donate at whatever level they would like, whether it's $10 a month or it's $1,000 a year or whatever it might be. This nonprofit is actually inviting their large foundation sponsors as well to come in and participate and be a part of the community, even with their $10 a month donors. And out of that has come this really rich discussion, rich events and collaboration. We even saw a book club get started out of this Liberated Capital Giving Circle. And so that just goes to show you, if you bring like-minded people together, regardless of how much they're giving and how much they're able to contribute, you're actually going to build a really thoughtful and I would say wonderful experience for people who can connect across those different economic brackets, but around this shared cause and these shared values. The second example we have is a group that is Fab Friends. This is a group focused on sustainable fashion. And this nonprofit is a smaller nonprofit. They got started much more recently, just this year, a couple of months ago, but they already have 51 members in their giving circle. They've raised over $2,000. And what I love about this one is that Fab Scrap has done a really wonderful job of continuing to update their community and use this as an opportunity to expand their existing donor base by encouraging people to invite others into the community, and by doing fun things like fun giveaways and volunteering events and things along those lines that really makes people feel like they're part of the community, part of the organization, and all the impact that they're having. One other note about this one is that through being on the Grapevine platform and running this giving circle for their nonprofit, they were discovered by another donor who then nominated them for a grant in a different giving circle, the New York Women in Business for Good giving circle. And so now they might get this much larger $5,000 or $6,000 grant as part of the donation cycle for that giving circle. So that's also part of being just a member of this bigger giving circle community, where people can find and discover your organization, participate, and also nominate it for other groups. This is a wonderful example as well, and this is quite different. So this is the Newman's Own Community Fund. Newman's Own Foundation set this one up to really engage their broader customer base and stakeholders. And what they did is a little bit different. So they actually put money in the pool for their members and said, we want all of you to come and nominate nonprofits and vote on nonprofits and tell us where we should send our money. So this is a foundation model. They are giving the money away to other nonprofits. But I think it's an interesting example because this launched at the end of last year, and it's the fastest growing giving circle we've ever seen. People were joining left and right throughout the end of last year. And it was a really exciting model because people got to feel very much a part of deciding where all this money went. And through this model, Newman's Own Foundation got to discover a lot of great organizations that they wouldn't have known about otherwise. And so maybe something for those of you who are looking to raise funds for your nonprofit that doesn't quite map, but if you have a matching donor, for example, right? If you have a donor that has some money that they want to put into your organization to help you with fundraising, even getting $5,000 or something from a donor, $1,000, $10,000, and have them put that in the pool and invite other people in to help you give it away. And that could be helping you decide which programs that your organization it goes to, right? It doesn't have to be giving it to a different organization. That could be a really compelling way to launch one of these groups, or just a fun giveaway to do within an existing group over time. Okay, I think we have one more. So this one is more on the peer-to-peer side. And this is an exciting model because what Together Women Rise has done is they have actually encouraged local community members who are part of their organization to start their own giving circles. And essentially what happens is these women come together once a month in hundreds of local chapters across the country. And they'll meet in their homes in many cases over dinner, or they'll gather in dining halls, breakout rooms, or break rooms in their company workspaces, or virtually. And they'll gather to build a sense of community and connection between their members, but also learn more about an organization that Together Women Rise is going to fund in order to support women and girls globally. And so that is their cause, right? That is their mission. But you can imagine taking the same model as a nonprofit with a national footprint and empowering your local community leaders members who really care about your work to start these smaller, more local groups, organize people to come together in a social gathering, social event, learn more about your organization, and donate in order to contribute to it. And then each of these groups, they do that each month. But if you have 200 groups each donating, maybe as a group we've raised $100 or $1,000. But when we have 200 of these groups doing this every month, right, that money really adds up quickly. Okay, so I'm going to pass this off to Gabby in just a moment, but I'll start us off by sharing just a little bit more on Grapevine and how we can help. So Grapevine is the infrastructure partner to the Giving Circle movement. And that means that we provide a free platform with all the tools that any Giving Circle needs to really engage their members, collect donations, grant money out, and build that really strong sense of community. We host over 1,100 active groups, and we have tens of thousands of members in them and over $35 million donated now to thousands of nonprofits across the country. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Gabby, and we'll actually just walk through a demo here so that we can show you how easy it is to get one of these Giving Circle communities started on the platform.
Great. All right, I am going to share my screen. I'm also going to just put this link directly in the chat as well, just to have it. So Renato, I think maybe can we use you as an example to walk through how to set up a group? Okay, fantastic. I know you mentioned you're in Brazil, you do work with idealists, but is there a particular Giving Circle that you would like to create right now, or any ideas you have that we can just create a bit of a draft for?
Yes, it's a little bit of an oddball
Okay.
because the idea is a Giving Circle that will finance Brazilian idealist people.
Okay.
So, whether it's organizing an idealist day event and they need like, okay, we need $500 to buy some t-shirts and get some food, or to turn a community center into, improve a community center, this kind of things. But not organizations, like informal, just people and informal groups.
Gotcha. So
Yeah,
sort of, I don't know, I've just put I don't know if you already have an idea for a name of the group, but I put Brazil Idealist Community. Does that
that's beautiful. That's
capture it for
yeah.
right now? Okay. So I'll just put, and you can edit all of this. And if you wouldn't mind actually just dropping your email in the chat, because I'm gonna make you an admin of this so you can start exploring it. And if you want
Marvelous.
to launch it at any point, this will just be a draft though.
Okay.
Okay, great. It sounds like you maybe heard about us through Idealist. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, I'm also very involved personally in the Giving Circle community. I'm part of Awesome Foundation. I've
Oh, great.
been going to community philanthropy together
Oh, great.
gatherings. The last we give summit
Okay.
and the conference in Bogota, Shift the Power.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I really like Grapevine, and I'm thrilled to be getting in contact with you guys.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So a couple different ways. I was gonna say something about that. Yeah, I was gonna say, awesome. We do have some of those Giving Circles in our community is what I was remembering. So that's great that you are already aware of that model. So based on what Emily was talking about, is there any ideal sort of cadence you would want members to join on? Does that quarterly model resonate with you? Are you thinking more annually, semi-annually?
No, I think quarterly is fine, maybe even monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put, and is there an amount? Typically, especially with quarterly, it's usually $100, but that's very flexible. Is there a default amount I can put for that for you?
And not really. You can do like yeah,
I'll put other
$100
here.
25 years. That's fine.
Okay, perfect. And then just as a goal, I can put like 5,000. Is there any dream goal you've got in your head for your giving circle?
So this is for the cycle, right? For the quarterly.
Exactly. This would be for the first quarterly cycle. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with 1,000?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. That's a good goal. Okay. So then what happens? It automatically generates your page for you. So this is in draft mode. So in order to start like collecting donations and all that kind of stuff, you'd launch the group. But I'm going to add you right now as a leader to the group and an admin so you can have control of this group. This is also how you can invite other people to be leaders and admin with you. I don't know if Danny on the call earlier was connected with you, but that is an example of someone you could add in. You can write them a message, join as a leader. So you'll get an email now inviting you into the group. But now all the tools and everything that Emily talked about, hopefully this will come together a bit for you here because this now is the community page that has been generated for your group. So just to kind of go over it a bit high level here, as I mentioned, we have 3 kind of key steps to get you started, invite in other members. You can update this cover photo. This is just something default, write a welcome post. And then when you're ready, this is how you'll launch the group and start collecting funding. But you can control many different sort of settings within the group. So if you go here to the settings tab, you can decide, is this a public group that anyone can find? For example, in that global giving directory, do you want members to just be able to join automatically? Do you want to actually be able to approve them to, some group, maybe you want them to have to show that they are in Brazil. You want, whatever it is. You can add a member survey questions so that people have to answer certain things before they join. Maybe you want to collect people's birthdays, so you can do something around that, all those kinds of things. You can also have sort of some moderation control in terms of who's able to post, if it's just you as admin, or if you want to open that up, requirements, all these sorts of things. And you can also customize the thank you message once people join so that there's just sort of something stock in here right now. But if there is a really clear call to action that you want to include here, maybe link people to a certain website, event, you can add all of that in there. And then this is also where you can decide if anyone can nominate a nonprofit or, all that kind of stuff. So up here, the homepage is really like the overview of your group. Down here is where you'll see your admin tools. So if you want to create like a welcome post, thanks for joining. Here's how you can get involved, whatever it is. I'll just do this just so you can get a sense. You can always delete all of this. You can add an image if you want, whatever it is. Post that to your, oh, it's waiting for this image to, okay, while that loads, I'll just go over a couple more things here. On the right-hand side, if you want to use, for example, the create an event, so maybe you're bringing people together to do some sort of volunteer activity. You mentioned supporting different neighborhoods, maybe cleaning up a neighborhood, whatever it is. If you create an event, it will appear under your upcoming events, so you can easily collect RSVPs and all that kind of thing. Join us next week. I'm just literally make this
Are
up.
these events always public or are they only to the members?
Yeah, so if you're creating this into your group, only your members or people who are on the page of your group will be able to see it. So sorry, it's doing something weird where it's telling me it's waiting for something to upload. Oh, here we go. There we go. It's uploaded. So this is essentially what people will see. And if I just refresh the page quickly, you'll see that it now appears under upcoming events. So essentially, when your members join the group, they'll see, oh, there's this upcoming event I can RSVP to. Or if you just send the URL to someone and your page is public, they'll also be able to see the event on your.
That's beautiful. And do they get an email?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great question. So if they RSVP, they'll get a reminder beforehand, and then on the day of, they can also add it to their calendar. And whatever they RSVP, other members will be able to see. So that's really helpful because it will say like Renato is planning on attending. So, and your little sort of profile picture. So people will be able to get a sense of who else will be there. And then you, as an admin in the back end, you're also able to download a list of attendees. So you'll be able to, that will just help you with your planning, see who's coming. And these can be in-person events, they can be virtual events. There's a place to put like a Zoom link if you're doing it that way. So it's really flexible, but that's just a really helpful feature, especially for the community building aspect, because you're really able to use it as like a bit of a bulletin board where people are easily able to see all the different happenings.
It
that
is,
you want.
yes.
Yeah. And then this is also like you can always pin posts too. So it'll be the first thing people see when they join your group. So any key information. And then you can also use just like the general post here to be like, welcome to my group. I always say like share how people can engage with your group. Here's how you can get involved, whatever it is. So you can post things to your group, and the members can also introduce themselves sort of on the wall of your group, all that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna do a quick time check because I want to make sure if you have any other questions, we go through that. But just to say, so we set it up for you to have people donate quarterly. So this is what it will look like from the back end externally to people who are making a donation. It will prompt them to set it up quarterly, or they can decide just to give once, whatever it is. You can also set it up so people can select another amount. You can have multiple default amounts as well. The easiest is credit card. So we encourage people to set up creating a reoccurring donation, which would be here. Oops, sorry, this option here, because it means they'll just get debited on whatever cadence your group is set on. So it's just easier from like a management perspective from your end as well. So this is what people will see. This here, you'll notice Grapevine Community Support. It's completely optional. People don't have to leave support. That goes to us to fund our work. So it's completely optional, but obviously very appreciated and encouraged. But in terms of fees, that's one to be aware of. It's completely optional. And then also the payment processing fee. So we use Stripe as our payment processor, and we have a lower amount negotiated as a nonprofit, but it's 2.2%, I believe. So that means on top of that $100 donation, it would be $2 or whatever. So just to be aware, that fully goes to Stripe, but that's the only other fee to be aware of. And then just to go back here for a moment, I just want to quickly show you as well, as an admin, you'll also be able to do reporting for your funding that's coming in. There's not really data in here right now because it's just me who set it up, but ideally you'll see a bunch of donors. You'll be able to see if they paid by credit card, what amount, how often. You can download all that. And then up here, this is also where you'll tell us where to send the funding. So we handle getting all the funding over. So I know you mentioned supporting community members. Just one thing to be aware of is we can only send funding currently to 501c3s or fiscally sponsored projects. So it might, based on what you're doing, potentially going the fiscally sponsored route will be useful for these more smaller initiatives, but we can't send funding directly to an individual like a GoFundMe, just so you're aware.
And maybe I'll ask Renato, are you planning to send money to organizations in Brazil?
Yeah, so the way I'm thinking is to send through a fiscal sponsor that, you know, has all the compliance here for 501c3 and so on. And they will in turn send to one organization in Brazil that will manage the disbursement, right?
Right.
And then
Great.
with the community, with this donation circle members, We will
Mm.
show them, these are the options, these are the individuals or groups that have requested funds and
Mhm.
help us choose,
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's